Hi, welcome to another episode of I Mustache You Something. We have no mustache. We have no Ralph. We're I don't know. We're an incomplete I Mustache You. Uh, what is this a vlog? Is this a video? What is this? What like?
It's
it's
a
not a
it's
podcast because
it's a
we
video.
only do video,
Yeah, it's a video timestamp. You have in time of what we're thinking about at any given moment.
and it's been a while. I don't even
Right.
know how long it's been since
Yeah,
we
it's
had.
it's no longer Mustache You Mondays. It's Mustache You sometimes.
Yeah, so I must ask you something
Uh,
sometime. I don't know when.
Whenever we can.
Yeah, I must ask
yeah,
you whenever. Uh,
yeah.
so we had a couple right in a row where the Iran thing was like still about to happen, and Sharif called it, and then it happened, and like I kind of lost track of the whole thing. It just seemed like another like oh yeah, look what we got ourselves into, no end in sight.
Yeah.
So
I
that's how
was
long it's been that like a
yeah.
war went from no, never gonna happen, wow, I can't believe this happened, to wow, is this still happening? And we have not been recording.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I was talking to Mitch while we're waiting so long for Sharif to show up. Um,
I'm
how
on my EST time.
do you know that, Mitch, that Egyptians like to call it EST, but it's not uh, Eastern Standard Time, it's Egyptian Standard Time.
Dude, Egyptian Standard Time makes me crazy. My German grandmother was like an hour early for everything, which is on the other side of that problem, right? There's a sweet spot, which is on time, and then there's the Egyptians who are like 2 hours late, and then my German grandmother, my mom from any, is like way too early. And can't we just do things on time?
Like, or
American
even
time, yeah.
just something, so just having a concept of time, like I don't even care if it's on time, but just having a concept of time, where recently Sharif and I were texting about a meeting that we're having on Sunday night, and it's us and one other person, and trying to figure out like who's going to communicate what. And I was, hey, Sharif, can you let the group know that we're meeting? And the other person specifically said from 8 to 9:30 p.m. What does Sharif do? Hey guys, we'll see you at 8 o'clock on Sunday.
Inshallah.
And I'm like, why? Like, are you allergic to timeliness? Like, we're starting at 8, and at least if it were me, I'd look at that and go, with like no end in sight. Like, no, like you just didn't give them the information that we agreed on, which is 8 to 9:30, which is relevant information.
That will be on Saturday.
What are you
By the
talking?
way, it will end by 9:30.
No, it's on Sunday, Sharif.
Yeah, but I'll tell them the end time on Saturday.
Why? Why wouldn't you tell them when you know it?
Well, I don't know. Just a reminder. By the way, we are meeting tomorrow again and we are ending at 9:30.
That's fascinating. So part of this whole process, so this is this thing for Sunday school, right? Is we're trying to navigate, the entire spectrum of people that go to a Coptic church. And we have people that
Whoa,
like would be
whoa.
offended if they showed up at 8:45 for an 8 o'clock meeting, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, why are you late? And there's people that if everybody's not on at 7:59 and you don't start with, a prayer and like, immediately going into business at 8 o'clock sharp. And I don't care. Like, I don't care as long as
I
we're
fu-
getting the work done. I don't care. Like, if we start at 8, 8:05, 8:15, everybody respects each other and we get done what we need to get done. Fine. But I just don't understand why there's such a wide spectrum.
so I mean, maybe this is like a product of the way I grew up. I'm sure that it is. saying you're going to be somewhere to do a thing at a certain time and then following through with it is a sign of respect to that person that you care about their time, right? You're asking something from someone to do a thing, to whether help you or not, and to fail to meet that commitment is a failure to see the other person as fully human.
But
Because
what if they don't share that value?
That's very stretchy.
why?
Like what if
Wait,
Sharif is thinking right now, like,
okay,
and
what's
that's
the
all he
one
has to say, right? Like it's not even like, here's my rebuttal for, what personhood is, and here is my, Christian anthropology of what defines a human being. All he has to say is, eh, and that's it. That's the whole argument.
It's not a good argument, man. What's the only thing we
Oh, I'm
have?
not arguing about it. It's
Yeah,
about
you would so like your
the value
patience.
of time. The value of time is stretchy a little bit in the Middle East.
Well, okay. Well, we're
It has
not.
nothing to do
A
with
couple
respect.
things. So we're not there.
That's how you're gonna character that's your explanation. It's stretchy. That's what we're gonna call it. We're gonna call it stretchy.
A little bit.
Well, what if your patients had that sort of ethos, and it affected your bottom line, affected your ability to bill?
Well, I'm always late for my patients because
See,
I do something
this is
else.
why we hate doctors. I mean, this is why America, like, they're not a fan of the medical system because you
Yeah.
guys you treat us like you don't care about us, which
No,
is
no, no.
exactly the problem I'm talking about here. What's the
No,
one thing we all
it's
don't have
about
enough of?
triage. Like for example, if I'm having a patient at 8, a follow up on a simple issue that is not life threatening, but at 7:55 I got a call like what happened yesterday. A patient can die within the next 12 hours if treatment is not starting. So I can't tell the 8 o'clock patient that I have this and this, but I do respect that I need to triage.
Well,
Doesn't happen every day.
That's a problem with you having too many responsibilities, though. Like
Oh,
that's that problem. That problem could like if it's a lower level of problem, someone at a lower level of expertise should be able to handle that problem. They don't need you to do that job. They could have.
Oh no, no, no. You wish. Because
go
everybody
higher.
with any
Go,
any boo-boo or any like needs, like the person that would treat like the highest level of care, right? And they won't accept the answer from anyone else.
yeah, that's a problem. If you have actually a good point of discussion, if you have enough extenders like physician assistant and so on, if you have enough doctors, yes, we can. I can say, okay, I will limit myself to 8 patients per day so I can take care of the most serious one. And other doctors, like freshly graduate or physician assistant nurse practitioner, can take care of the small business.
Yeah,
But this is not the case.
it's a supply problem. Basically, you're creating
Uh,
a critical path due to lack of supply of professionals
yeah.
at the right
And
level.
for example, for cancer care, cancer is a disease of elderly. And all what we are dealing with now in the health system that we have a growing, exponentially growing elderly population, which is
Problem.
a good problem to have from a health perspective. But again, who will treat all of those people?
Yeah, I mean, like it's back to the problem of us having an inverted pyramid as far as like human population. We have more old people than we do young people hitting their 70s. There's not enough doctors hitting 27 and graduating. Yeah, yeah, it's good.
And if you have a med school with a loan of 1 million, good luck. And you are not allowing the doctor from Pakistan, India, China, Egypt, Syria, Iraq to come in enough number to bridge the gap. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have that whole lobby to set it up to keep that supply small, though, right? Isn't that the American healthcare lobby is like there's rules about becoming a doctor that's like harder, not easier. There's too much money in specialists. Like the general, no offense to you specialists,
I
a little
mean,
offense. Like it would
oh,
be
that's
helpful.
another
It'd be
problem.
it'd be helpful if you guys if the general practitioner made more money. and like could see more patients. But to like actually be effective and make decent money to pay off that $1 million loan, from my understanding, you almost have to pick a specialty and go become a specialty care to get higher billing.
Or you go to federally funded institution or non-for-profit and you get some exemption and stuff.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is a supply in medicine, in nursing, in teaching, in like school teachers, is getting less and less. For example, for school teacher, you get a loan of 300K and then you get pennies to teach.
Yeah.
But Sharif, I think what Mitch is getting at is the same thing that we have as an issue in timeliness, right? Where this person values X and that person values not X, right? They have completely opposed values. The value of I value timeliness is contradicted by I value flexibility with time, and those are incompatible things. And the person who says I value timeliness says, well, you can't run a system if we don't know when we're starting X or when we're finishing Y, right? And the person who is like, eh, right? They're like,
I
well,
value equity, like I value severity,
you value what?
Acuity.
Acuity.
acuity, whatever you call it.
Mhm.
And it's my own triage system in life, at work, at church. And I know that cannot run the system, that's for sure. That's why the checks and balance of the US system in
Right, but
general
I think the
work through the
patient
process.
values whatever problem they have. Wait, what was that?
Like, that's why you cannot run a whole system with my style and you cannot run the whole system with the German style. And that's a
Right,
melting
right.
pot
But
of cultures that you have.
so there, to a certain extent, it's beneficial and it's nice to have different flavors, if you will, right? But to a certain extent, I think it would be much easier if we all understood the same rules. And if nobody cares about time, then nobody cares about time.
No,
If you
we
know,
care in different levels
no, I don't.
of
No, I don't think.
sensitivity.
No, I don't think that's. I wish if that were the case, and if there were some regard for these things, like for example, like the patients really care about just being attended to, right? The doctor cares about the actual problem, right?
Yeah.
Those are not really the same thing. And I actually
Yeah.
like I will remind my patients, like, listen, like I've learned over the years that the reason that you're here isn't for the problem. You're here for someone to care about you, right? Sometimes we have a solution to the problem, sometimes we don't, but we can always care, right? And changing my telos, right? Changing my desired end from fix the problem to a telos of caring about the patient has helped me in my practice. So if we're on the same page that like, no, the problem is the problem, like fixing this thing is the problem, then great, like my life is easy. But if the problem is poorly defined or they just need reassurance, right? Then I need to work within the patient's telos. I don't know if you guys have seen that video of like the wife that has like the nail in the middle of her head. She's telling the
Mhm.
husband like, like I need to talk to you about something. He's like, the nail in your head. She goes, it's not about the nail in my head. And then she wants to talk about like how hard it is to sleep and like, like her head is just always pounding. And he's just but like this would just be easier if we could just talk about the nail in your head. And it's like,
Well, you need
this
to
is not
redirect the
about the
telos.
nail. Was that?
Well, you need sometimes to redirect the telos. Like, you can't go with self-declared telos that is not right.
Okay, but like that might be true for you as a cancer doctor, where like if somebody doesn't have cancer, you can't tell them like, okay, we're going to give you chemotherapy, right? Just because you think you have cancer, even though there's no
Yeah.
actual object, like you get to dictate the terms simply because nobody can tell someone other than a cancer doctor, A, whether they have cancer, B, what the treatment is, right? That there's no way around that. But for
Google.
me, somebody comes in and says, like, my shoulder hurts. I can't say no, it doesn't, right? Like I can't redefine the telos. The telos is make the pain go away, and sometimes it's not as clear as
Yeah.
I or they would like it to be.
Yeah. Come back to time on meetings and stuff, and we start here, we end there. Again, it's responding to Mitch. If someone is late or is not respecting the time, it has an issue with the person, not with the other party. Like, we can respect each one very well, we can love each one very well, but the way of loving is different. Way of respecting is different. Like we have this very famous story, or very famous like attitude. Oh, I'm late for this meeting because I was getting a gift for the person who was talking in this meeting. That's a different way of expressing love, a different way of
So,
expressing respect. And I'm not saying that this should be the standard, but I'm kind of widening my mind that, okay, if this is my way or my culture way, maybe we need to trim it a little bit or changing a little bit.
yeah. So I think it's cope, if I'm gonna be honest with you. So just like think about it like at the individual level, like I can empathize, but I disagree. But if you take it across a culture and then just look at the results, right? So the Germans, for all their many faults, took on the whole world twice and almost won twice because they have the ability to like organize, be on time, and be structured. Where like the culture you're describing has less efficiency just out of course, and less efficiency
Oh,
causes
yeah.
them to fall behind, and it happens. Like I think there's societal downside to like not respecting time in the
I
modern
agree.
world. Yeah.
I agree 100%. But if you are uh, uh, taking people from this society that is failing, like me, and putting them at a society that is striving and expecting that people like me follow the German rule, that will not happen.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that's
so you're happy to drive the German car, but not have the German mindset.
Definitely, I don't want to have the German mindset, but
We don't know. Listen, we're not talking about Nazis. We're
no, no,
talking
no, no,
about
timeliness.
we're just
the
talking about if you're
the ability.
announcing a meeting,
Yeah, yeah.
you state that there's a start time and an end time to the meeting.
Yeah, for like that's what I need to learn to be more respectful other time. What
In a
I need to
Western
learn
culture.
in a
In a,
Western
in
culture,
a West, yeah, and I think that's like
but
it's very
the Western culture too need to accept that this Middle Eastern culture of laxity has a place to complement the Western culture of like what they call it, minutes, precision. Um, Everything is calculated, everything is documented, because this laxity can in certain circumstances achieve quicker results if placed in the right way, and achieve more wider result, like what we call it, more applicable result. Like, for example, at work, if I need to fix something, there is 10 steps to fix it. Well, if I use my Middle Eastern mentality, I can find the leeway.
So I think we've already run that play, to be honest. So what's cool about America is we have a lot of different cultures built into the world, right? So the South is a little more Middle Eastern because it's
Yeah.
hot than
Definitely,
than
definitely.
Massachusetts. I mean, you know what? The Midwest, where most of the Germans landed in America, is very time centric. And that's why when during the Industrial Revolution here, was a great place to be because the population was like built on like scheduling time, building things, da, 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 da. And that's an issue. They literally took robots and air conditioning for anything to be built in the South. Um, and yeah, I think we've run that beta test and we've discovered that we have that on the whole, respecting other time, people respecting time, your own, others, is better for universal flourishing than not, is my contention. And my evidence I
Yeah,
provide you
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for
is
sure.
this, the world we live
But for a
in.
community, for a civilization to strive for a long time and not going to the Nazi timeliness, you need to have some like Italian in the background. You need to have
The
some,
Italians were also fascists.
well, no, our Italian,
But
our American.
that's a different kind of fascism.
No, no,
Like
our
that was
Italian.
inefficient. So what I'm talking
They're
about,
Yeah,
lazy
that was
fascists.
inefficient
that's what I'm
fascist. Yeah.
saying. That's what my point. My point is like whatever government style, how evil or how genuine, it doesn't matter. You plug that into the culture of the German people, it's going to be efficient, insert what efficient democracy, efficient fascism, efficient communism almost it was. Like they were super good at communism before the fascists took over, right? Like it was like very impressive communism coming at the time. And the fascists were more efficient. And then that went away and here we are. But regardless, it's a culture of efficiency. Now, I think the pushback that I'm going to pull from that, like the valuable lesson there is when you make efficiency like the golden calf and you worship efficiency, that in
Hmm.
itself can be can be a problem. And
Exactly.
proven and proven
Exactly.
and has proven in I'm gonna think like if you only care about efficiency, do you ever get to sit down with your kids and have a real conversation? Because you're not a human anymore. Obsession of efficiency is leading to this like weird god that we're building called artificial intelligence. And like we care more about efficiency of that tool versus human flourishing. Like if human flourishing was the only goal, would we be building data centers and all this to the rate we are? The answer to that question is no. We've chosen efficiency as our golden calf, and that's what we're going after. So it's a fair pushback.
Yeah. So coming back to a meeting that start 8:15 instead of 8. Yeah, it's not efficient, but it it can nourish human relationship, which we need as a cushion to a progressive civilization like the American.
But it goes a little far when the weddings start 3 hours late.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Like,
Yeah. My German family, I mean, we ours started up on time, but like because we forced everyone. But I can just imagine my German family, if like it was a standard Egyptian wedding, it would be chaos. My family would be losing
sometime
their
we are here.
minds.
Sometime, like we'll
Yeah.
start somewhere between 2 and 5.
You guys take the words of Christ, the word soon, a little too literally in your daily lives. Like, it's soon. I'll come back soon. I'll be there soon. This happens soon. Like, what does soon mean? Yeah, it's a little too much.
And I think everybody also thinks that they can define for themselves the happy medium, right? Because
Mhm.
if they find like the most extreme example, right, where like for me, like if a meeting starts at 8, okay, like if we start at 8:05, we give people a couple minutes to trickle in. Okay, like I'm not I do think that if people are 10, 15 minutes late, you know, we don't know when to start, right? And we don't know when we can start the conversation. And there's people that are sitting there like this for 10 for 15 minutes, like trying to figure out like, oh, when is an appropriate time so that we're respectful, blah, 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 blah. Right. Um, and somebody who shows up 45 minutes late to a meeting is going to be like, well, at least I showed up at all. Right. And the person who starts at 8 o'clock on the dot, like not even waiting the 5 minutes or the 10 minutes or whatever, is like, well, if we send the message that like, we're going to start on time, then as if like people aren't going to actually track or pay attention. So whatever it is that you're trying to say, you're going to find a more extreme example and say, oh, I'm actually in the center, right? You're not going to say, oh, actually, I am an extremist. Everybody thinks that they're the ones that are in the center and everybody else is the extremist. Oh, I'm not like that, or I'm not like that. I'm the one that's in the middle. But how do you know if you're actually in the middle?
Well, I don't think that I know that I'm in the middle or no. I'm trying to approach to every extreme depending on the situation. But again, and don't get me wrong, I'm not preaching laxity or lack of commitment, but I'm preaching what Mitch has said, or what I'm trying to say. We should not make idols of system, of timeliness, of efficiency, of productivity, of if you go to investment, of return of investment. Sometimes you have a business and you don't have a return of investment. It's okay. There is a laxity here that we can expect and accept. Productivity, for example, like I know hospital systems that collapsed because they forced the doctors, the providers for higher productivity, and that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Again,
In some cases, unless they go, I mean, I think HCA is striving for efficiency and is doing quite well, but the problem is they burn out with doctors like crazy. But yeah, yeah, yeah,
at
man.
church in meeting, like if we are idealizing the system and everything to be documented, everything need to be following strict rules, you don't have the freedom of innovation,
Yeah. So,
which
in
is the difference between Catholicism and Orthodoxy, by the way. Not
what do you mean?
they are Western and Eastern, but the mindset, the phronema, the Orthodox phronema has a little bit more laxity.
Yeah, but I think sure, maybe. Actually, no, don't know if I think I disagree. The I mean, when you have 3 billion-ish people, there's going to be differences in how things are executed on the ground. The rules up top are very rigid, but at the base level, there is room for
Pastoral
playing with
configuration.
playing within the rules. The rules are very tight, but there's room to play in those rules in order to like make like it's saying like I mean, for example, if you were really into skulls and like gothness, oh, do I have a church for you, right? Like that's an option, right? You can play within those rules, and culturally I think there's like plenty of space for that, and we make space for that, um just by the nature of being a very big tent.
Mhm.
um but yeah, I think my obsession with timeliness process comes from the farm, right? Like just my old man was never late for a meeting, and ever, like period. Even if there was like the farm was falling apart, like are the cows fed? Answer yes. The cows milk? Answer yes. Go do your responsibility because you owe it to them because you've agreed to this thing, and you have to, as a man, your job is to honor your commitments, and part of that commitment that is different is the time element is deeply entwined with that word, that commitment, and you other people have are busy lives as well, and to take your commitment loosely is to disrespect their time. The limiting factor we all have is time, and to take and ignore their time is disrespectful to that person's existence. Is kind of the way I was raised. Um, and to be, but that's the way it goes. And I would say, I'll speak for like in construction, right? So we have all these processes and things, but at the end of the day, the person holding the wrench, that's the person in charge at that moment. Like, yeah, he's got to do all these processes, but the person like doing the work also like owns that. that thing.
Mhm.
Mina's gotten bored. Mina, what else should we talk about quick?
How much more time we have?
I'm
10 minutes?
10 minutes ish, yeah.
I'm still struggling with the same question, right? Who gets to define the middle, right? Because like I said, I'm telling you from experience, anytime I'm telling somebody I think we need a different standard by which X is measured. They say, well, I like, my standard. And I'm like, okay, here are the consequences of that extreme position that I think that you're taking. And they say, well, here are the consequences of the extreme position that you're taking. And I go, right. However, I'm not really taking an extreme position. I'm taking what I consider to be this extreme position that I'm not even articulating. I'm taking your extreme position and I'm trying to put it in the middle and say, we should come in like Sharif, I like what actually Sharif said. I'm trying to move in the direction that it seems appropriate for that specific event. Having the discernment of this requires more timeliness, and I will apply that. This requires more structures, and I will apply that. This needs more flexibility, and I will apply that. But to be a hammer and a nail where everything, requires this same approach where I always want flexibility. I always want rigidity. I always want whatever doesn't
I just
work.
the premise I disagree with, right? If me and you agreed to meet at a certain time and I fail to meet that commitment, it's my fault.
Yeah, yeah. It's my fault, and I take the responsibility. But it's
Yeah,
not the
and I as long as like that's where I draw the line. Like if someone says that the thing starts like the men's events we used to go to, I used to show up to Mina's house on time when everyone said they're going to be there. Me and you, him would goof around for like 2 hours waiting for everybody else to show up. That's crazy, man. I got kids. I could have been
you
home with
don't,
my kids, but I
you
made
don't enjoy Mina's company.
I do, but I also have kids and I
Hmm.
have a wife and I have my own responsibilities.
Hmm.
But I made a commitment when I said I would be there. This is the time it starts. We all can agree that's the time to be there. And to me, being like, and to me and maybe it's just the difference is the other people are like, well, I'm gonna take more time with my kids no matter what time it starts, and I'll show up when I want. Okay. Well, that's a one way to run a culture, and I don't think it works. I think saying we have a personal agreement that the thing starts at this time and it's going to end at this time, it should. That's my heart. I'm a hammer and nail on it. Like if we agree, that's the agreement. Otherwise, like what's the point of like an agreement? Like we can't trust each other then. Like it starts with the
If,
little
if, for
things.
example, you are waiting for a plumber to come and fix your faucets, and they give you a window, oh, will come anywhere between 9 and 4.
That's unacceptable to me. As a person from that world, that's unacceptable. It shows we were talking about this before. Sure, there's a that's a laziness culture. And
Any plumber in Massachusetts will give you any
well,
electrician,
and
and you
not
you are
not
stuck.
this electrician. This electrician was on time, and my reviews were always stellar because I was on time and make sure my team is on time because it shows respect because people don't like waiting around all day. They got stuff to do. They got a life. You say
Oh,
this is when we're gonna
I
be
leave
there.
the door open.
Listen, I'm going to propose
Come
something.
whenever time. Hmm?
Tell me what you think of this. I think when you're talking about anything, right, whether it's timeliness, structure, preparation, good work, whatever it is, right? I think the reality is everyone's going to have different standards. Okay. Now, I think for me, if I had the choice between somebody who shares the same values or someone who's willing to be flexible about their values with the mindset always being serving the person that's in front of them, I will take the second one. And I think that you're both saying that in different ways, right? Because behind the value of timeliness for Mitch is the value of I respect you, right?
Mhm.
And I think Mitch like correct me if I'm wrong. I'll tell you a story about when I was in high school, and we got invited to a graduation party, and like my parents were always like the exception to the rule, like they're the timely people, and we were told 3 o'clock, and we showed up at 3:30 to be like Egyptian, like just so like, we don't want to be rude, like showing up. The host of the party was still in his underwear. And it was like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, like, what are you doing here? And we're like, you told us 3 o'clock, it's 3:30. And they were like, oh, yeah, maybe five, maybe five. And we were like, okay. And we just came back at like 7 p.m. because like we were afraid, like we were genuinely afraid of coming back at 5 or 5:30, and for that even being like a fake time, right? And I think if you, Mitch, knew that in this specific situation and this specific group, the way to show your respect was by showing up 3 hours late, you would, right? You wouldn't go out of your way to, well, maybe you would, but like you would understand at least that you're deviating from your other value of kindness, caring, like respecting the other person, and you're showing up on time for spite, right? And what I'm saying is that the value itself that is on a spectrum matters less than what Sharif was saying earlier, which is I'm willing to modify myself, right, for the situation. And I'm willing to be timely out of respect for the other person when that's appropriate. And I'm willing to be flexible when that's appropriate.
What's the bright line for an individual event? When do I know it's acceptable to be late? If someone like if on those men's events it was like 2 o'clock EST, I'd be like, sweet, show up whenever, right? But
Let's go by default.
yeah, that's so not necessarily. When does church start? Does church start EST or does it start
It
on time?
used to.
No, well, does it? Man, I don't remember that. We start on time.
Okay, right. But like that, so for Sunday school,
That's a
and
process that
right,
took like
for
20,
liturgy to
30
start
years.
and end at a certain time, and for Sunday school to start and end at a certain time, that not only like right now there's still people that think that this is like like right, but there was a time, and it wasn't that long ago, I think it was like 10 years ago, where the whole system was like, what do you mean like,
Yeah, you can't. To me, I hear what you're saying, but then my question is, what's the bright line for an individual event? And without like a bright line of understanding, because within your answer, it's wishy-washy. Like some people may value this more. Like,
and that's
yeah,
what I'm
that's
trying to so C.S. Lewis says this about Christianity versus science, where
mm,
he says, I believe in science. I have no issue with science, but science fits within Christianity and not vice versa. And he talks about the dreaming world and the real world. He goes, the one that can contain the other is the one that's more
real.
real.
Yeah.
And in this case, the flexible wishy washy to an extreme is a problem. The rigid and time punctual to an extreme are both contained within that. There is no bright line. I need discernment. And I think that, I mean, anything in Christianity that is treated as a bright line has the risk of heresy, right? Like there are things, the existence of God, God is Trinity, the incarnation, the resurrection. Okay, there are some things that are sort of like, well, no, the whole thing kind of falls apart with these things. But when it comes to human elements, not divine elements of like, well, should I pray? Yes, but don't make prayer your idol. Should I go to church? Yes, but don't make the going of church your idol, right? And all of these things, you know, when we're talking about our own interpretation of things, have this idolatrous risk. And that's what I think you tend to, or at least have a better chance at, or more likely to, like, however you want to frame it. But like, I'm 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 thinking that the answer to my own question, which I mustache you, um, to verify, is that when things are on a dialectic and there are people that see things different ways, finding the synthesis of the thesis and the antithesis, right? Like
Yeah,
finding the
I just don't think it should be on the receiver to make that call. I think it should be on the person extending the time to say 4 o'clock EST or 4 o'clock. They're like that to me, the receiver shouldn't have to make that judgment call. They should be able to be like, oh, for EST, that means if it says 4, that means I need to be there at 4. And I think that is respectful. So for the meeting you guys are talking about, it starts at 8, it ends at 9:30 EST. That is like it starts when it starts, and who knows how long it'll go, right? To me, that is from the distributor of the information is their responsibility.
I think if you're dealing with people that you can have high expectations of,
I
yes.
have high expectations of people because I expect that from myself, and I want to live in a society that's like
I,
that.
I think that in and of
That's
itself requires a
exactly my
dialectic.
point. You are forget that you are married to an Egyptian lady. In this state, the secret of success is not all the people have the same standard. You have a lot of leniency. Forget about the.
I disagree. And
No,
I will tell you that after 45 minutes and I have to jump, I
I need
think that being on time if requested to be like if it's a hard request of do a thing at X, one should do a thing at X if they commit to doing it. And if you are wishy-washy about it, that's not fair to society. Society is too large, but I think it's disrespectful to the person. If I was like, hey, we're having an event and it's loose, I'm probably gonna put the chips out at like this time. Come whenever. Awesome. If I say the party's starting at 3, I expect everyone to be there at 3. Otherwise, you've failed to respect the event and the person hosting it. I'm firm in my Overton window, far to the left.
I need to learn this.
All right, I'm gonna jump, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Sharif, what do you think?
I need to learn this. Exactly. But still, are we recording or are we done?
We're still recording it.
Uh, uh, Still, there is a value of deficiencies.
Value of what?
Deficiencies.
Okay, but so
Oh, value of failure.
and understanding that as a concession, right? And understanding that as a okay, like we can't make everything perfect, but not making that as a value, like something that we want to add, right? It's not it
No, no, no.
like I understand
It's a
it's
value of accepting the deficiencies because they are there, trying to modifying it, but rejecting the deficiencies from the get-go, you are not going anywhere. And I'm talking about a country, a system. Like if you go to the history of New York City, for example, the Irish were kind of despising the Italian. Irish, punctual, rich, educated, Italian, filthy, drunk, uneducated. I'm talking about the 1800 and stuff. But what makes New York City is this reconciliation. Yeah, I can have a Jewish mayor with Irish businessman and Italian restaurant owner and comedians and professors in of art and artists. Like you can have this mix.
I understand, but there's a difference between,
And Egyptian in between as well.
but there's a difference between we're accepting people from all cultures and all levels of whatever it is, right? Ability, engagement.
Mhm.
Some people are going to be very, very productive. Some people are not. Some people are going to be very easy to relate to, and some people are not. Meshi. And this is why I think I disagree with Mitch, where you don't draw a bright line and you don't say, like, okay, like, here's the rules of engagement as I've defined them, right? And here's what I demand of you in order for you to have the privilege of, relating to me in this way, right? I
Oh,
don't
I
agree
didn't
with
say
that,
this, but like,
right? I'm not saying that. But at the same time, there isn't this, well, anything goes. No, it's not anything goes.
yeah, that's an extreme that it's unacceptable. And I don't think in our society, 2026, we have a lot of example like this.
Of what?
It's of like, oh, you show up at 3, no, no, you need to come back at 7. I don't think that's a common practice now. 3 is 3:34,
Sure. And
not
and
7.
I mean, this was the like the late 90s, right? So I
Yeah, yeah.
agree, like this hasn't happened recently. Um,
Or
but
literally start at 9:30 instead of 7:30. We don't have this.
no,
In Japan,
well,
maybe
it
yes.
still happens some places.
Hmm?
It still happens in some places.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm talking about the movement of the the immigrant communities to be assimilated in a Western culture is a successful movement with deficiencies. You still highlight the deficiency, you still try to change it, but drawing hard lines. Like if you draw hard line for me, you as an American, me as an immigrant, I might not change. But if you constantly uh, anticipate the deficiency, trying to modify it and accept it that sometimes we need the deficiency. Like for example, if you're going for confession, Nabuna told you it's 8:30, but the one who started at 8 didn't finish till 9:30.
Right. You don't interrupt Abuna and get mad at the person who's like in the middle of like
A crisis.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. A deficiency that we need to embrace. While I know some priests said, okay, you know what? I'm not your psychologist. What are your sins? Okay, here is the absolution. Go by. I don't think that's a good reconciliation.
Right. And that's why I'm saying accepting that excellence is a good value and acceptance is a good value, right? Having high standards is a good value and being flexible and easy is a good value. And like I said, I don't like I don't really enjoy conversations when I feel like the other person is treating their value as an absolute, right?
Definitely, definitely,
Even
definitely.
if I share that value. Like right now, like we were talking to Mitch, and I said, listen, I value timeliness, but if we're going to make timeliness an idol, then I'm going to be uncomfortable. I value excellence, but if we're going to treat excellence as an idol, I'm going to be uncomfortable, right? So it's not about my agreement or disagreement that this is something important. It's our approach to our perspective on what's important and how we're going to apply that to the situation and with people that have a different. And I think that's why you and I get along so
Mm-hmm.
well, is because we're like, I completely disagree.
Okay,
Right? You're
it's a
like
move.
A, I say B, right? You say up, I say down. You say left, I say right. And then we say, okay, I'm glad we talked. How can we be up, down, left, right?
I
And
need to go, Mina. Okay.
wait, does that mean we're done?
Yeah, I need to go. Sorry.
And
I'm already.
so should I sit here and just talk by myself?
No,
All
timeliness.
right,
We are 10 minutes above our time.
all right, fine. I guess we'll catch you next time on I Mustache You Something.
Okay. See
Bye.
you. Bye.